Scorpio. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for April of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco.
Well, Scorpio, this month's horoscope themes cover a lot of different areas, but most especially family, home, and children. And if you have questions about any of these topics, a natal and transit reading is the way to get a broad variety of answers. And you'll find a link for that in the YouTube description below. Well, Scorp, we have a lot of moon activity to talk about today. I didn't report the final moon of March last month, so I'm going to talk about it now, especially because we'll still be reverberating with that for the first few days of April. And that one is a new moon in Aries, which falls in your 6th house. This particular moon has very strong themes of communication, which could be very pointed communication because of Mercury being right here in Aries. This moon we're calling honest words, clear intentions. And it's really great to have clarity about what you want to say. Don't get me wrong. But when the words come tumbling out of your mouth so fast that you didn't think before you spoke, that's when it can get to be a problem, especially as this lands in your 6th house, which covers the job, the work environment. And so watch what you say during this new moon, because you will be planting seeds, whether you know it or not, and it's important to make them be good ones. The next moon I want to tell you about is happening on April 16th, and this is a full moon in Libra, which falls in your 12th house. This moon is going to be very relational. It could bring up a lot of emotions in your relationships. There could be arguments because of the involvement of Pluto, which brings in themes of desiring control and power, feelings of vulnerability. And so this could kick up some drama for sure, but there's help from Saturn and Juno, which can smooth out every disagreement and possibly leave you in a better place than when you started, before all that stuff came to the surface that you wish you didn't have to talk about. Then the third moon I want to tell you about is happening on the 30th. And this one is not just a new moon, it's a solar eclipse, which is a special new moon that happens near a node, in this case, the North Node. This new moon features the sun and the moon together in Taurus in your 7th house of relationship, of partnership. And so the themes very much are there in the realm of partnership. And an eclipse will show you your shadow. Your shadow is, as Jung defined it, it's that stuff that is hidden, that you're unconscious of, that maybe you've buried, you don't really want to look at. And a new moon eclipse is therefore a solar eclipse. The sun is what is eclipsed. And that makes this kind of eclipse more behavioral and less internal. So the upshot is, under this eclipse, beware of your behavior in your relationship, because you might betray your shadow. You can find out a lot more about all of these moons on our YouTube channel by checking the March news playlist for the first moon of the month, the one in Aries, and the other 2 moons can be found in the April news playlist. And I encourage you to check that out, because those videos say so much more than we have scope for in a horoscope like this. One last thing I want to tell you is that Ceres has been hanging out in your 8th house for quite a few months. She is the cultivator, and she's getting ready to move over into your 9th house next month, which should be pretty great because Ceres is exalted in the 9th house. And so that will bring you into a time when you may find yourself expanding your finances, and that could be pretty awesome. Sneezy. Hey, Julia. What is up with Mercury, Venus, and Mars for the Scorpios of the world?
Lots of stuff happening with those guys, Scorpio. I'll start with Mercury because Mercury is the planet of communication. It represents your mind, and it's going through 3 houses this month, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Usually doesn't go this fast. It's kind of like the opposite of a Mercury retrograde now with how fast Mercury is. So that means that things that are Mercury related are actually running rather well. So Mercury starts the month in your 6th house of work and organization. And Jamie and I covered this cycle a lot more in last month's video. And it's only here for a few days this month. So if you need a refresher, I recommend that you go back and check that out. But what's most important to know is that on the 2nd, this Greater Epiphany Day is happening in your 6th house. And what Greater Epiphany Day is when Mercury is exactly conjoined the sun. And it always happens at the sort of beginning and end of Mercury cycles. So one cycle's ending, a new one's beginning. And during Greater Epiphany days, we tend to have insights and aha moments and get greater clarification on things. So early in the month, since this is happening in your 6th house, that means that you could be getting some insights into your job and your work conditions. You know, maybe you're wondering if there are ways that you can improve your work conditions. The 6th house also rules your health. So maybe you're getting some like aha moments or making some big connections about what to do about your health. And the 6th house can also be service, you know, how you're of service to other people in general. So those could also be other themes where you're gaining further clarification on them. Then on April 10th, Mercury enters your 7th house of partnership, where it's going to be for most of the month. So from the 10th to the 29th. And when Mercury's in the 7th, this is the house that rules your partner if you're in a relationship. And it's the house that rules all the people you hire for advice, you know, so consultants of all kinds, like a doctor, a lawyer, counselor. So with Mercury in the 7th for most of the month, that means that your best ideas might come from bouncing them off other people. Mercury in the 7th is a really great transit for sort of thinking through a matter with your partner. And it's also a great transit for hiring a consultant, especially one that you can speak with, because that's what Mercury rules, and who might give you some better advice into your life. Then by April 29th, Mercury goes into your 8th house of other people's money. And it's only there for a couple of days this month. It's really going to take place, this transit, next month. So stay tuned for our next month's video to hear more about how that's going to feel. And now we're going to talk about Venus, the planet of art, beauty, and relationships. And wherever we have Venus is where we find pleasure and some luck. She spends the first few days of the month in your 4th house of family and home, where you might be enjoying and getting along well with your family better, enjoying your home more. Then by April 5th, Venus is in your 5th house, where she's going to be for most of the month, the rest of the month. So Venus loves being in the 5th house. It's known as the house of her joy. And the 5th house is a very, very fun house. It rules your hobbies, what you do for fun. It rules also your creativity, if you're an artist and you like making things. It rules children, if you happen to have any. And it also rules dating. So with Venus in the 5th house, it's a great transit for all the single Scorpios out there to get out and meet somebody cute. And it's a wonderful time for all the Scorpios, the ones who are in a relationship and the single ones, to have more fun, get out and connect with the things that you enjoy. It can be a very artistic transit for the creative types too. And if you have any kids, it can be a wonderful time in your relationship with them. So everyone loves Venus in the 5th. Now, the last planet I'm going to talk about is Mars. Mars is totally different than Venus. It's a very active planet. Wherever we have it is where we're feeling very driven, but it's also a planet that can sometimes run into conflict at times. And Mars starts the month in your 4th house. So it's going to be there for the first 14 days. With Mars in the 4th, for the most part, it basically means that you're going to feel very energized on the home front for the first half of the month, where maybe there are a lot of projects you want to do at home, or things, you know, if you work from home, this can be a good transit to really sit at your computer and get a lot of things done too. Now, Mars in the 4th house can sometimes run into conflict with others. Venus is in there a little bit helping out, but you know, generally speaking, if you really try to get out your energy on the home front by doing constructive projects, that's really going to help and prevent sort of conflicts from others too. Then on April 14th, Mars joins Venus in the 5th house too. So when Mars comes in the 5th house, that just means you are just super driven to have fun. You know, it might be very difficult to sit down and have to, you know, do a writing assignment for school or spend extra time at work, because you're just really, really driven to have as much fun as possible. Mars in the fifth house can be a little tricky if you like gambling, because Mars in the fifth might be very, very impulsive, and gambling is a game that everyone enjoys. So, you know, I'd be very careful with betting money this month. And, you know, even though you've got Venus in the fifth and you're enjoying those games, Mars in the fifth too might make you a little competitive with game playing too this month. So as long as you're a good team player and, you know, not being, you know, kind of mean about it to anybody, it should be totally fine.
Well, I want to talk about Juno. Here she is, having traveled through the fourth house of home and family. And she's been there for a couple of months, and she's about to move later this month into your fifth house right here on the 20th. And she's going to be here for quite some time, because Juno is going to go into a retrograde period later this year in this house. And so there will be a retrospection period about committed relationships, and we're all going to experience it happening later this year. And for you, it's going to come down in the fifth house. And so as Juno moves into this house, it's a good time to start having more fun with your partner and bringing more partnership into your fun. And when Juno goes retrograde, you'll find yourself asking questions, like really kind of wanting to, you know, put some retrospection into, well, how fun is my partnership? Is my partner also a good playmate for me? And how could maybe we have more fun together? How could we, and really enjoy our relaxation time together? And so later this month is a time to start thinking about those things, and trying to figure out how those things could be bettered in any committed relationship that you're in. And then I want to tell you about the seasonal change. And that's the season of Taurus, beginning right here, also on the 20th, as the sun leaves Aries and enters Taurus. And as it does so, it moves up above the horizon and into your seventh house, bringing the light of consciousness to your relationship area. Wherever the sun goes, it's good to pay attention to things there. It's good to shine the light of consciousness there, and to really, look at what's going on. And this being the domain of partnerships, that applies not only to a marriage or committed relationship that you might be in, but also business partnerships as well. And the more attention that you pay to them while the sun is in Taurus, the better they're maybe flourishing in that area. The last thing that I want to tell you about is Pluto. Pluto is going to go retrograde this month, towards the end of the month, right here on the 29th. Pluto has been traveling along through Capricorn for more than a decade, and has been bringing transformation and metamorphosis to your communication zone while it's there. And when Pluto turns retrograde, any transformation process that you might be involved in will be deepening and intensifying for the next couple of months. So if you have something in your chart that Pluto is transiting this year, it might be good to know about that, because that part of you will be going through a symbolic death and rebirth experience, after which it may be changed forever. And you can find out a lot more about Pluto transits, how to discover whether you're having one, and the timing of it, and what to do about it, using a link that I've put for you in the YouTube description below about Pluto transits. And that's what we have for you today, Scorpio. You can always find your horoscope for your sun sign and your rising sign on our website at pandoraastrology.com. And you'll find that stuff in the horoscope tab. And you'll find also that we offer classes and that you can get readings too. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye-bye.
Bye.